Yes, so we are live. Thank you very much. Again, we're doing this amazing podcast today with my new speaker, amazing person. She is an author of a book, Play Godass, Patrycja Lucyna Altynska, and we have a conversation about art, authenticity, authorship, and purpose. And you are also a fashion contributor, fashion model, artist. It's so amazing to having you here today, and that my audience are having such an incredible person sharing the experience with you as an author and also experienced person on art. So thank you for joining. How are you today?
Better for seeing you and being here amplified.
Yes. Yes, so yeah, we know each other for a long time. We met on one of my fashion shows. You were participating with my brand fashion catwalk as one of the amazing models, but I didn't know under the this pure, beautiful spirit and personality, which can incredibly show amazing. Collection with the beautiful, outstanding performance on stage. You're also an artist. You can do incredible art, and you recently published your new book, Play Godass. So you're incredible, talented. How you can have time for all what you're doing, and tell us more.
Oh, thank you so much for all those beautiful adjectives. They always sound so grand, and my inner human goes like, "No, this is not who you are."
Yeah.
um, yeah, such a good question. How we have time? I actually believe that when we follow our excitement and our passion, we sort of stretch time, and we have time for things that we truly enjoy or that we feel value in them. So this time thing, it's kind of relative because sometimes I switch between my kind of restless version or the version that still buys to the idea that there's no time, that would be like my inner hyperachiever. And then when I just get into this present moment and use ways how to ground myself, and I'm reminded that time, it's a abstract concept that we molding depending on our inner state.
Exactly. That's great. It's exactly. So we know that you are the author of Play Goddess. So what's inspired you to write this amazing book, and what exactly is hidden behind this book?
That's such a great question because the book actually is called Play Godass Discovered a Hidden Map to a Magical Life. And it might sound like, oh, you're claiming the magical life. What does it mean? But it's actually, I've discovered through my experimentative, explorative life and different seasons that I have experienced, as we all have been, that depending on our state, we see and experience reality differently. And we can change our perception when we become more mindful and heartful, even gutful, so like super present, and start questioning the narrative in our heads. And also when we use our emotions as a guidance system. So that's sort of some of those principles that are kind of are explained more in the book. However, what inspired me directly was my curiosity with the number of synchronicities, which are those happy coincidences that prior to putting the book together, I was experiencing. And they always felt so fun. Uh, I mean, not always, because actually through researching the subject and writing about it, I've discovered that we also can experience dark synchronicities. However, the book was inspired by probably years of me exploring spirituality, different modalities, also coaching modalities, healing modalities, the whole field of energy psychology that really fascinates me, working with people and helping them change, their past, so that, or ideas about their past, which were still influencing their presence and future. So there's like a whole mixture of reasons why this book decided to emerge through me. But I feel like it was excitement also that brought it to, on the in that version that it has become, and the concepts that it also showed up while I was putting it together.
Amazing, because you're also a coach. Yeah, you're working with one-to-one coaching, and you have individual clients. Are you still doing this?
So at the moment, I put it on hold.
Hmm.
Before I was writing a book, yes, I had a lot of one-to-one sessions with clients. Some of them were like long-term. And obviously, the things that I have learned through those experiences, I also share in the book. Some of my wonderful clients who became friends are actually the real characters of the stories in the book. And
Hmm.
I took an interesting, bold, I would call it a Godass risk, because I have not changed a single name nor a brand that is in
Yeah.
the book. So everyone who's mentioned is a real person. Maybe some of them don't have the surnames. However, I did that on purpose because the book actually highlights the things that I love about these people or the brand, and
Hmm.
I felt that it's an expression of my authentic self, and
Yeah.
therefore that risk is not even a risk. I feel that when they find themselves on those pages, they will be delighted anyway.
Hmm. And what does exactly the play Goddess mean? What exactly
Mhm.
this title means?
So it's interesting. So play, it's a verb, as you know, and
Hmm.
also it became my artist creative name.
Hmm.
Uh, Stems from the acronym of Patrycja Lucyna Altynska and this bizarre color yellow that's been stalking me. And now I figured that my reticular activating system, which is that part of the brain that filters reality, is actually using it for the guidance. So play is my name, but it's also in this context, it's this idea that we can play with reality, play with our narratives, play with our states, and play with life. And when we approach like our existence from that space and with that childlike curiosity, everything, literally everything becomes somehow playful
Hmm.
and moldable and transformative. So play, it plays that role, that word. And Godass, it's again a word that has been invented by my playful mind, but I'm actually not sure even who's the authorship of Godass, because I felt it just came as an idea after a yoga class with my dear friend Shahana, who's also mentioned in the book several times, because um, I've noticed that she really executes that state of Godass way of being, and I explain what it means. It's like an upgrade from badass. And in the English language, I feel in America also this expression is used. Are you familiar with what the words badass mean?
Hmm.
So badass is like is our inner sort of hero, the hustler, the version of us that makes things happen and grinds and goes for things.
Hmm.
However, it's a very empowered state, and a lot of us operate from that place. However, the in our Baras mode, we still kind of separate ourselves from others, which is fine, by the way, because that's how we are designed as humans, right? We are different, unique versions on this planet. However, sometimes there's not much kindness in what I would call badassery. We can be very sort of harsh on ourselves and on other people. We can operate from those programs that feel like, oh, we are in competition, or there is some sort of threat, or it doesn't have to be, but this contrast is there, this inferiority, superiority, whereas in that goddess place, and we all can access it, it's almost like our natural state, we really feel appreciation for others, for all the living creatures and beings. And there is this beautiful compassion, which is even an upgrade from empathy. Because in compassion, you see the potentials, the greatness of people, who you are interacting with. And so they got us, that's what it means. And I
Hmm.
feel like a download because we with Shahana, we came out of the class. It was a yoga class, and I thought, God, it's such a cool class, and everyone enjoyed it, and you were so marvelous. And she just gave me the feedback, and you were such a great student to play with. And I was like, oh, you're such a badass. And I don't know which one of us picks up that word badass, but like there was bad in badass. What if we just turn into Godass, but Godass? And then that's how the term came.
Okay, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about synchronicities and excitement. What are synchronicities to you then?
Yeah, this mouthful of a word, right? Synchronicities.
Yeah,
So this
exactly.
is actually by Carl Jung. But synchronicities are actually, in my understanding, through the play Godass perspective, and this is very playful, so I want you to play with those ideas, so that you have to take them as a given, but you can do. So synchronicities actually mean that we are what's in my book we would call an alignment or like harmony with the bigger version of us.
Mhm.
And the book elaborates on that concept that we are so much more than this physical body, and that this human that we experience in daily life, and with so much more than our analytical mind, that we also have like this idea of higher mind. And of course there are different philosophies and religions and modalities that call it have different names for it. You can call it, God, spirit, guide. Like I use this term higher self or higher mind,
Yeah.
because it's like we do get those ideas and thoughts that feel expansive, and they never judgmental, they never harmful, they feel like creative, like almost innocent. uh,
Mhm.
so the synchronicities, like experiencing synchronicities, indicates that we are receptive to the communication from that bigger version of us.
Mhm.
In short, hope it makes sense.
It makes sense. It makes sense. And have you ever experienced moments that felt too perfectly timed to be random?
Yeah. That's the whole book is about all those moments, like a lot
Okay.
of stories. Actually, there's probably about 40 stories from
Mhm.
my experience involving some amazing humans who I mentioned there. We are all amazing. It's just about tapping into those versions of us that we can mirror in each other. And yes, so many stories. I mean, I'm glad you can share, you know, any with you
Yeah.
here, but really, when you tap into the book, you're gonna find some. And the purpose of those stories and sharing them is so that you start being receptive to the synchronicities in your life, or we become more like open to being curious of what happens when these happy coincidences take place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. And how has following excitement changed your life?
So this is such a good question, because you might question, what does it mean to follow your excitement? I mean, sometimes our addictions or survival strategies feel like excitement. However, there is this distinction between genuine excitement and the excitement that comes from our survival mechanisms, all those programs that are
Mm.
keeping us safe. And so the idea of tuning into our genuine excitement um, feels like we are being guided. And interestingly, what I found that very often it becomes like this organizing intelligence for things that I want to experience, my desires or manifestations.
Yeah.
And it's something that even might sound grand, because you might think excitement is it's directly related to our passions or our hobbies, or things that we were taught that bring pleasure. However, in this context, that excitement means something that just feels genuinely better. So, for
Mm.
example, you might be feeling constricted or anxious or negative, but when we just allow ourselves through like moments of presence and ask the question, what do I really, really fancy doing now? Now, maybe I feel like going for a walk, and I know or like doing something that doesn't seem like, oh, this is path to my career. However, even those little nudges to do something not related to the career or passion or whatever is that our calling, they surprisingly leading us to the manifestation of that's what we truly desire, what comes from our soul, not from our ego. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It's always ask yourself what I really like to do, what is my desire, and then follow your intuition. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I know the book is like a Godass. So, what is the difference between this badass mode, Godass mode? What does it mean?
So I did mention this at the beginning, when I
Yeah,
was like explaining where the word goddess came from.
yeah,
However, I kind of made this distinction in the book. You can even, there is a test, you can take a test.
hmm
And this is actually all based on wonderful research and modalities that operate like in the more scientific world, and that comes from studying a lot of psychology. And this idea is that we all operate from different modes and versions of ourselves, and throughout the day, our like modes fluctuate and change depending on where we are at, who we are with, and what are we doing.
yeah,
And so I made this simplified, playful distinction of three modes, which would be us mode, badass mode, and goddess mode. Because when we play, it's easier to memorize things. So the us mode actually embodies our imperfect, reactive human. Whenever we find ourselves stressed, anxious, angry, in conflict, or in those lower moods when we can be snappy or not really the most coherent and lovely to be around, that would be this us mode, the extreme version. That some of the world leaders exercise, or even extremely violent would be an asshole mode. And
yeah,
then so from there we upgrade or shift. We can shift to our badass mode. So this is our inner hero who kind of still got something to prove, and comes from that space, is more empowered. There is more action that comes from kind of motivation, I would say, because a lot of in our badass mode we often being motivated through obligations or like second gains,
hmm
and still there's this element of inferiority superiority going on. The competition is like a lot of like our economics can be based on that mode. And then
hmm
we are another shift will be this goddess mode, is when we actually tapping into that peace, love and appreciation, compassion,
hmm
thinking. And when we don't feel threatened, we just in such a wonderful space, and
yeah,
we can all experience it,
yeah.
from different uh,
hmm
contexts.
Yeah, I'm totally after it. So I'm totally a person who like 10 years in psychology and coaching, and I think you can never put a fear on another person. So if there is a way someone is controlling you with the fear, or it's always coming from him, not from you. So I think this goddess mode should last as long as your mind is in this mode, and try not to, you know, um,
Mhm. So there's
and
this.
protect yourself and your energy, because we live
Mhm.
not so long here and it's a moment. So this is super important, and I try to
Mhm.
live like that every day. So yeah, even sometimes, of course, even me, I have some, but I train my mind so powerful that I try to be no, like a little bit distance from the outside world. So
It's
probably
so
this
interesting.
goddess mode that you're talking
It's
about.
so interesting, like how we can also fluctuate. Because sometimes, our our negative intelligence can be as sophisticated as our positive intelligence. And
Yeah.
so, and sometimes I also found myself that my goddess mode actually still disguise in as a badass mode. It's crazy to think, but this moment when I I am in the place when I feel like, oh, I have to isolate myself, or something comes from somebody else, like
Mhm.
negative energy.
Mhm.
In the goddess mode, you take responsibility for what's coming. So this feedback, it's like, okay, what is it in me that it's maybe even filtering this person behavior in such a way or contributing towards the reaction.
Mhm.
And you see this, that's why there's such a fluctuations. And Godass, it's not something that it's permanent, or I mean, maybe it could be. I don't know, that there are some of those ideas of enlightened teachers who, live permanently in their compassion. And I studied a lot of them. And I feel like for us beautiful humans, acknowledging that we have that beautiful imperfect side that can fall on our bums, hence it's well cushioned, so we prepared for it, and to acknowledge that we fluctuate, and authenticity actually comes from that, which is like this transparent way of seeing our actions, our motives, and our programs. It kind of shows how we can jump, between those states, and it's not something super fixed. But we can retrain our minds, our hearts to
Yeah.
be more in that state consciously. And with that, I always feel, okay, how can I love what's happening to me? In the how can I expand my vision without victimizing myself or labeling, someone as toxic or negative, because
Mhm.
our mind can do that too, and
Yeah.
sometimes need it for the shift. So
That's true. That's true. We can always change the way we look at things. Like
yeah,
my mentor will say, it's just a perspective. So that's great. I mean, thank you for the explanation. And the next question will be, um, well, sometimes we are still we're still like working on us, and we need to really prove lots of things to ourselves. Why do people get stuck in proving themselves?
that's such a good question. Even the word improve, it's almost like I am a proof, or
Yeah.
like I love dissecting words and playing with them because they give us amazing insights. And I mean, we all have those human needs, like our human, and that's like from Tony Robbins, who teaches this wonderful explanation that we our human life has got a need to feel significant. It has got a need to contribute, to grow, and all those things are possible when it feels safe.
Hmm. Yeah.
And sometimes we have some subconscious programs, or they come up to the surface to be changed and resolved through our buttons. When people, like someone presses our buttons, it's like, oh, that's interesting. We've got a button to be pressed. So that's an opportunity, to enter, like, what is it that I'm thinking or believing to feel this way or to act this way.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's such a good question.
It is
Because
very good question.
almost like a lot of us, we forgot as children, we never had this enoughness issue. It's something
Mhm.
that we sort of took on board from our parents, siblings, our or the external world. And it's almost like even in the Western world, in the coaching world, it's such a phrase that has been worked with, like I'm not enough, that it takes
Mhm.
into that core of like, why would I even think I'm not enough? And yet when you read Play Godass, there's a
Yeah.
lot of beautiful proof through philosophies and history of wonderful authors and thinkers who I share, who touch on synchronicities, that we are that our existence, pure existence,
Yeah.
is just the proof that we are enough to
Yeah, we
exist.
are enough. Exactly. Exactly. It comes from our experience or from our childhood, but exactly, you're totally right. We don't need to prove anything to anyone, to be honest. And especially
Yeah,
when you start to work on yourself and love yourself and accept yourself, this is the best feeling ever. So I highly recommend. I am in the state now, so I never want to prove anyone to anything, because I know my value and what I can bring to the world, and this is the most beautiful thing, I think.
yeah.
Yeah. So
And you are such a cool person, Elisa. I feel like when I hear your stories and what you experience and where you
yeah,
are in life, and
my life is like a battle always. I
I
heard.
don't know, you shared with your audience, being a
Yeah.
polyglot and having such a knack for languages, and having
Yeah.
the experience of being
Living in so many
women,
countries.
and they're living in these different countries and
Yeah.
learning and being
This is
so curious.
amazing. I think my life is like a movie. I love it. I
Yeah.
love that. It always was something to worth the opportunities I have. It's always something transformational. And I always jump for the opportunity. I didn't, it's always worth to take risk because then you learn so much from life. And so, yeah, this is really, really good. I think the more risky and challenging the life is, the better for us.
You know what was the risk you put me into? And I took it on board, and I was so glad
Yeah.
I had, because when I was modeling for you in that pink
Yeah.
dress, I was super challenged. That was not a type of attire I would ever wear. And
Yeah.
I can't tell you how transformative the experience was, because I proved to
Yeah.
myself that I can be feminine and embrace the pink. And,
Yeah.
this type of look that you have enabled me to test and try. And that was my risk. My
Yeah.
identity felt like, whoa, I'm really challenged here.
Yeah, and the dress is not easy. It's very, very transparent, very sensual. So someone will say, "Oh, don't wear it," and the other thing is, why would you not wear it? I mean, you can wear whatever you want. You know what? If you think it looks beautiful on you, you don't need like anyone to tell you not to wear something that you like. So I
No, it
think this
was
is
it
yeah,
was it was a brilliant experience, because it challenged me, and I actually discovered that I can feel even great in a pink dress, which in the
yeah,
past I'd be like, this is the last type of attire I would wear.
yeah. That's good. So you have a bit of challenge that you also take it. So I'm very grateful. And
Yeah,
you
we
look,
got after it. I call it,
yeah,
we got after it, because we embraced it and we brought the best out of it,
and you
and
look
we
very
appreciate each
amazing.
other for the experience.
Yeah, and you really look amazing. Okay, so coming back to your book, you have also this kind of marketing campaign, one pounds for nothing and collective value. What exactly does it mean that one pounds for nothing campaign?
Well, it's an interesting. So it's not as a marketing campaign as an conceptual arts campaign that has been derived from my painful but also intriguing and explorative experience, and enabled me to question things. And I feel that when we question from the place of curiosity, then miracles happen and amazing things show up. And I just give you a little background. So this £1 for nothing campaign, which really means oneness, harmony, coherence, unity. When you think about perfect team or co-creation, that comes from that Godass mode, when we appreciate each other and what's coming, and even the downfalls and mistakes which are taking us on interesting adventures. So that oneness means like we becoming this coherent body, and nothing is that in the nothingness there are all potentials and everything. So when you
Yeah,
put like number one and zero next to each other, we've got this nothing amplifies the one, right? So you've got 10. We put more zeros, and then the number just infinitely expands. 100,000,
yeah,
10,000. You just keep going infinitely. And this arts, which is like heart-based campaign, um, actually touches on this idea: how can we tap into systems and ways of running businesses, economies, countries, societies in the way that truly brings the best out of each other, without us, and how we value things, and worth, what is the self-worth. And so, because so often certain economies, they seem very injustice and very unfair, and in fairness, because when you recognize that we fluctuate from different modes, sometimes all of us are hypocrites, right?
right.
Because sometimes it's impossible not to be, until we awaken to ways of how to transform it. And when we accepted that, okay, that's what our unaware human at the time was operating from. But I give you this example, like grounded example of wonderful platform Amazon.
Mhm. Yeah,
Like, I'm thinking of Amazonian jungle because that's also an amazing place full of
Yeah.
mysteries. And I'm not saying this from the place of criticism, because obviously everything has got its pluses and minuses. And I've got my book on Amazon, so that would be
Yeah.
massive hypocrisy to say like, oh, this is a horrible, horrible platform invention, because it's not. In many ways, it's just transformed the way we shop, and created a lot of businesses, and it's been like the source of abundance in many ways. However, it also has got its shadow side. And at some point, I tested this job of being a delivery driver.
Mhm.
And my experience was, again, it was a fluctuation between modes.
Yeah.
So I did it from more curiosity, also from the needs for change, variety, and to boost my income. And I quickly realized that boosting an income, that was not going to happen. Because as much effort and love I put into the experience, the reward I got from it was like a cosmic joke. And the experience really makes me appreciate delivery drivers massively, because it's so often like, this is how we learn empathy, through the direct experience, and we can put ourselves in other people's shoes. And so that's a beautiful outcome that came from it. But also the idea of campaign came from that pain of like, wow, there's so much injustice that we sometimes create those systems when, on one hand, you benefit because you can instantly purchase something and you can make a mistake, but it's going to be corrected, because those systems are more and more sophisticated and faster. However, the price that is paid for it, like these people, the drivers, they really put their life at risk. And in a city like London, it can be a very challenging affair. So £1 for nothing came from this desire to, through art, create something impactful and to help us tap into ways of creating systems when every party involved is a winner. And that campaign, at its core, shares that. And just one more thing, there was also, at the same time when I was experiencing the pains of being a delivery driver, I came across this conceptual art that by the provocative Italian artist, which was first sold for $120,000 and then auctioned for over $6 million.
Wow.
The taped banana.
Yeah.
And that really made me question like how we value things, how human psychic works, that someone can create a taped banana and sell
Yeah.
it for such an incredible amount of money, but then you can go and deliver bananas and be paid like peanuts, not to mention grow them. So you see,
Yeah.
those are so interesting questions that I feel this campaign is raising. And at its core, it's about creating a movement that brings value by maybe small contribution, because it's like £1 or maybe one Bitcoin if you want to pledge one Bitcoin, but that allows you to enter this ecosystem that it's supposed to playfully help us awaken to systems that are of value for everybody involved. So
Very interesting. Okay. So anyone can invest this £1, yeah?
anyone can invest that £1 and put their name on the
Okay.
artwork. And the
Oh,
artwork is this global thing that I
yeah.
invite you to go on Godass.org page and
Yeah.
explore the idea. It's unfolding, but the intention is there to create it in a coherent way, globally, playfully, with deep intention and potential of showing that maybe value does not necessarily live behind being a badass about stuff and hustling and like killing ourselves for material gain.
Of
Or
course.
yeah.
Okay. And why do you think that humans were so attached to the value and worth then?
Okay, so we had that question. I think it's just those needs, right? We have that need for
Yeah.
significance. and the need for contribution, but also our ego. So it's interesting, in our us mode and our badass mode, we often operate from our ego, which is great, by the way. I'm not
Yeah.
victimizing our ego, because it's an important our factor of being here on this earth. It's an instrument.
Yeah.
And our ego and our brains, they create those biases for the purpose of survival. And it
Yeah.
comes from that, versions of us which are here to be preserved. And
Yeah.
we can associate our worth with status, with financial gains, with
Mhm.
things that we have you know been through, and it's just inherited human nature, which is so interesting, that when we start questioning, okay, what is it that I believe makes me a valuable person, versus, hey, but I'm valuable anyway.
Mhm. It is important. It's really, we should ask ourselves, what is this exactly your value means? The
Yeah,
way you treat other people, the way you lead as a leader, the way you leave some legacy like Bob Proctor did after yourself. Yeah, it's a good questions, I think.
yeah.
And can collective intention shape reality, you think?
Oh my goodness me, that's such a great question. I absolutely
Yeah.
believe so, because I've experienced that myself as a explorer of spirituality in different modalities. I have tapped into the teachings and practices by one of the famous at the time Indian gurus, Maharishi
Mhm.
Mahesh Yogi, who's associated with the Beatles. And I don't know if you ever heard about the Maharishi effect.
No, I didn't know. What is it? Can you explain?
So,
Mm.
Maharishi effect, because it was executed by Maharishi, he gathered a lot of humans uh, for the purpose of creating coherence in certain areas, in
Yeah.
either America in the 70s near the Washington DC, and there was a lot of research done to actually prove that when there is a certain amount of population in that coherent meditative state, and they do it together with intention, that
Mhm.
the presence of those coherent minds and hearts and beings influences the environment. And what they discovered, that the crime rate dramatically dropped in that region, and that overall the trends in the society were much more positive. And so Maharishi effect is something that I've always appreciated, and I've also experienced through different teachers, gurus, people who I mention in my book. I've been to the workshops or gatherings, like Dr. Joe Dispenza, who also uses this principle in all
Yeah.
his workshops, to with this intention for us to heal and to merge this Godass version. I would say that feels like abundant, powerful, and appreciative, and living in gratitude.
Yeah.
So
It's true.
so the
That's
One Pound for Nothing campaign stems on that, through art,
yeah.
like create coherence through the intention, through collective
Mhm.
art that will be revealed, and you can find more details
Yeah.
on that website, godass.org.
And I think this is also a kind of like this giving back, when you
Mm,
gain, then it's good to give back or help others. So this 1 pound could be, you never know what can do for others in the future.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
when you do it intentionally, and also because it's such a small sum, but
Yeah.
interestingly, it also shows that when we do it from the right place with the right intention, that the ripple effect of that
Yeah.
is powerful. So it's being playful and curious, and okay, how this is going to pan out. So whenever you come across that in campaign, join in. There are ways to benefit from it exponentially.
Yeah. Amazing. So, and what do you think the people take away from the books or the events you're doing promoting the books?
Yeah, it's such a beautiful question. I feel that the main takeaway is remembering. It's
Mhm.
almost like remembering who we really are. And I know it might sound enigmatic for some people. However, even that simple thing, if you just place your hand on your heart and just for a second, think of someone or something that you really love, like
Mhm.
unconditionally, right? It could be your pet, it could be your child, it could
Yeah,
be your favorite snack, but something that makes you feel so delightful and mellow and expansive and beautiful and like, ah. And that's the intention behind everything I do. Like, I feel like I found my purpose. I've been looking for it, all the time, and I feel like it's in my heart through art and through play. I want my readers and participants of my events to not only like remember this feeling, to also like take it with them and nurture them and create and co-create from that place, knowing
yeah,
that that we are so much bigger than we forgot. And that
yes.
being childlike is actually the most beautiful place that we can be. My favorite phrase these days is like, plan like an adult and think like a child.
Yeah, I today we actually should copy your children because children are examples that they try whatever they want to try. They never give up. They always, when they fall, they are up. They,
Yeah,
especially when they're
that's
starting.
persuasive, and they have no problems with feeling emotions.
Yeah, they don't care. They don't make a drama, or they don't also take any feedback from others. So we should really
And,
be
and they can
creative.
make drama. They're very good at that, but they can switch very
Yeah,
quickly, from that. So that's
yeah,
cool as well because they watch us. It's like, how should we react?
yeah.
Remember that with your
They
daughter.
are very good in persuading what they want with other people. So,
Yeah.
they're very negotiation person as well. So, I love that in children that they really know. I see my daughter as well how to. They're like sometimes like a salesperson. They
Yeah.
know where is the time to sell you something. So they're a great negotiator as well. Yeah. That's amazing. So, in terms of this playful word, what would a more playful word look like to you?
So occasionally, my world is very playful, and I use all sorts of mundane situations to exercise it. I
Mhm.
mean, some of my stories are quite extreme, but I even found something playful in the vomit. There's like one story that describes it. I know it sounds revolting. However, in that particular story, I found a cartoon character from my childhood, which amused me so much that dealing with the situation was not an issue. It actually became strangely enjoyable. So, yes, being playful means like being curious, feeling non-judgmental towards ourselves, others, or circumstances, and embracing what is from that place of all is well,
Mhm.
all is well, and I can actually choose the meaning that I'm giving to this situation, and I can lean towards this compassionate, appreciative version of me, no matter what we're dealing with. That
Mhm.
so yeah, so life becomes a playground. And I'm not saying that I'm in that place all the time, but whenever I consciously remember, and this is cool mantra, I really, you can try it. It's so powerful. It says, nothing can make me happier than I am right now. So
Mhm.
whenever you find yourself in a bit of like extreme situation, I would call it an us mode or a badass mode thing. Okay, nothing can make me happier than I am right now. And then something, if you do it like mindfully, just melts and you realize, oh, I'm good.
Yeah, this must be the best state is like that to
Mm,
be happy with yourself. And what would you say to someone feeling disconnected from their purpose or themselves?
Such a good question.
What kind of
But
advice you give to
I've
them?
experienced that a lot, so I so emphasize, with that feeling.
Mm.
Say that the best advice would be to be kind to ourselves to start with, because sometimes we are in that place when our human needs need to be met first before we can move on and like create more consciously. So when we are in that space to allow for nurture of any kind to come our way, to seek help when there is a need for that as well, and not to be ashamed of it, because actually you probably find that most of us on this planet have those moments, and it's part of being human, that it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to feel like a failure. On some level, it's a lie as well. But in those moments when it feels so real, to embrace it through asking even that question: what is it that I need right now? What would make me feel better? And I know,
Yeah.
okay, yeah,
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Even the conversation with someone else that can help you or motivate you can really change your
yeah,
your your state of being. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so yeah, we are almost going to
wow,
the end of our very interesting
great,
conversation. All
yeah,
these topics are amazing. The idea of 1 pound for nothing, your amazing book, Goddess Mode.
yeah. Thank you.
So
I'm sure.
you're a very creative person. Your life is very like Goddess Mode, playful. So what are your next plans? Are you planning to focus more on writing books or creating the art, doing the events, or both?
I think that there is place for all of those things, and that when I follow the excitement formula, it's like the higher intelligence helps me organize it.
Yeah,
I'm in the process of creating a new structure and system so that it makes all those things sustainable and doable. And I'm very grateful and appreciative for what this universe has brought for us, like artificial intelligence, and which I think is like an artificial intelligence. And of
mhm,
course, everything has got a shadow side, but when we really lean into this idea of how much we can benefit from this dance and appreciation for this tool that we've got. So
yeah,
yes, I am calling in opportunities for more events, the workshops that are arts and kind of interactive ideas coming from the book, bringing more play through also my artworks. I
mhm,
have been passionately creating meaningful and synchronous pieces that I'm so open to share with the world and start creating collections. So yeah, there are a lot of exciting things ahead, and um, yeah, I am super excited about that.
yeah. So where can we find your book? Is it like on Amazon or where the viewers can see
Because I'm
your?
in two worlds, and I am in the you know beautiful meta cognition with our goddess approach. So the book can be found in on the Great British Store, that is available there. And if you purchase a book there, then
Mhm.
there is a tree that will be planted for every
Oh,
purchased book.
wow.
The only downside to it that it's a bit slower. Delivery takes a few
Mhm,
days.
mhm.
However, if you don't mind waiting, it's also the publication of the book is a little bit thicker and looks like a brick, but it's lovely. Or
Yeah.
you can purchase on Amazon if you feel like, oh my God, I just so want to get a hold of this book now and I can come tomorrow. So, with appreciation for both approaches, and also, not to be a massive hypocrite. However, I feel like I have this intention to tap into the system and bring forth through that campaign uh, more awareness of how we can balance those worlds, and
Mhm.
how can we move on from something that we don't want, with still appreciating the contrast, right?
Right.
Because um, we benefited from that on one way or the other, and like condemning anything, it's only perpetuating the negative within us. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, the book is available. But
Wow.
the best way, you just go godass.org and you can make your decision what feels
Mhm.
more exciting in a genuine way, what feels better for you, and pick your
And your
very.
beautiful art, like the paintings, where can we see? Are you doing exhibition or next in
Um,
London or?
I just had an exhibition just closed in Leighton Artwork,
Mhm.
but watch this space.
Yeah.
The events and updates also available
Okay.
on godass.org or here in my socials.
Great. Well, so thank you very much, everyone watching us. You can watch this on the LinkedIn. or also on Spotify Global Leaders that I start to now create and YouTube soon. So, and if anyone would like to purchase the amazing book and start to change, transform the life for more playful, creative, self-love, yeah, they should contact you, or they should also check the Amazon.
Absolutely. No shoots, but if you feel excited, go for it.
Yes,
Thank you
definitely.
so much, gorgeous. It's been a
Thank you
pleasure.
very much.
Be
And
sure.
yes, wish you a lovely day, and thank you anyone watching us, and stay tuned for next coming guests. I have a more exciting guest, but you are one of my best guests so far.
Well, we are all best in our own universes, and
Yeah,
there's more to come. Let's celebrate them all already. Thank
yeah.
you so
Thank
much.
you. Bye
You
bye.
guys are listening.